of the wave. We are still waiting to see what will happen there. Meanwhile, Chile's National Emergency Agency says more than 300 people were killed in the magnitude 8.8 quake. Chile's president estimates 500,000 homes are damaged and many more buildings, bridges, and roads are in ruin. Hours before hitting Japan, the tsunami arrived in Hawaii with a whimper, doing no damage. We're happy to report about that. Japanese officials have been warning the earthquake could generate a major tsunami along Japan's east coast. Correspondent Kyung La is monitoring developments from CNN Tokyo. Kyung joins us now. How's it looking so far?
Well, Natalie, we're still waiting to see what the impact is going to be here in Japan. It was predicted to happen at the bottom of this last hour, but we're still waiting to see what is actually going to be happening. Japan's meteorological agency has issued its first major tsunami warning for this country. In the past 15 years, we haven't seen anything like this. So that's what's really got a lot of people here concerned. They are expecting in some parts of Japan, the northern part of the main island, waves as high as 3 meters. So Japan's government has issued a number of evacuations all along the coast. All of Japan's coastline expected to be impacted in some way, although again, the most severe waves are expected in the northern part of Japan's main island. So still waiting to see what's going to be happening now. Like, part of the reason that there is so much concern is because in 1960, when we saw that Chilean earthquake back then, there were huge waves here, and 140 people were either killed or never found again after the tsunami struck Japan. So a little bit of historical deja vu here. They are hoping, though, that we're going to see what Hawaii did and miss the bullet on this one as well.
Certainly hope so, since Japan just saw an earthquake, too, a couple of days ago. Some of the islands in Japan, they're probably wanting a break at this point. Also, they've had plenty of time to prepare. Have evacuations gone smoothly?
From what we've seen, evacuations have gone very well. This is a city, this is a country, in fact, that is very used to earthquakes, very used to tsunamis. They have an extensive emergency preparedness system in place. So everything appears to have gone very, very smoothly so far. But again, we just have to see what the impact is going to be, because there are a number of people who do live in the areas that are likely to be impacted.
And do officials there, can they pinpoint a time when they think they can say, okay, we're in the all clear? How much longer that might take?
It's very difficult to either predict and then clear an exact area. The way tsunamis work, at least the way we've seen them here, is that there are almost like waves, a first wave, a second wave, and a third wave. It's very, very difficult for this government to predict. The agency that we look to for the information is the Japan Meteorological Agency, and right now they're just trying to get people moved out of the area to make sure that no one gets injured in all of this.
And are they worried about a potential tidal effect?
Certainly they are. That's one of the things that they're looking at, the tidal effect. But the primary thing is to get people out to look at the structural damage. And one other thing I do want to point out, that the coastline here is very, very rugged. Certain parts of this coastline are very difficult to get out of, and there is some rail issues, rail service issues, and roadway issues. So rail service has been cut off. Some of the major highways have also been stopped to make sure that people don't travel into those areas and then get stuck as well, Natalie.
All right. Well, we'll keep in close contact with you as we learn more about what may or may not happen there in Japan. Kyung La for us live in Tokyo. Thanks so much. Well, Chile's president took to the airwaves after the quake. President Michelle Bachelet urged her country to be strong as her people face adversity.
I have flown over the capital regions, El Maule, Hilo, and had meetings with the local authorities to learn on site and to coordinate the actions necessary to help the affected population. The forces of nature have hurt our country greatly, and we are now having to face adversity and having to stand again. And we are taking all necessary measures to normalize little by little the functioning of all of the basic services and utilities in our countries. But there's a great task ahead of us. I have been in 6 main regions that have been affected, and we will make available help to the people that have been affected. The Ministers have to do a detailed count of the disaster in each one of their areas. We will delay the start of classes until the 8th of March in order to protect the safety of our children and to open shelters for people that are requiring them.
President Bachelet is nearing the end of her term. Her successor, Sebastián Pineda, is set to take office March 11th. The president-elect told reporters he's making disaster relief a priority in his new administration.
I would like to say to everyone that we will put to disposition of the actual government all the collaboration of the future team. I have asked the new director that they have our entire cooperation after March 12th. Also, this is a big impact for the infrastructure of our country. There's been big losses in transportation and roads, in airports, flights, also in infrastructure of housing. I am committing to the complete and total help of our administration with the current administration.
Rolando Santos is Senior Vice President at CNN Chile. He spoke by phone with CNN's Don Lemon about his experience in the quake.
I got up just a little bit before it started, and I've lived in California, worked and lived in San Francisco, Los Angeles, so tremblers and quakes are not a big deal to me. And I thought, oh, it's a quake, and kind of blew it off a little bit. Then it just started getting worse, and I looked out over the skyline from my apartment. I could see Santiago, and the next thing I know, Santiago went dark, and I'm on the floor, and the lampshades are coming, the lamp's coming down, all the books, stuff's off the wall, and I tried to get up once, and I fell right back down. So I wound up crawling into the bathroom and into the bathtub. And I started counting 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, trying to get an idea for how long it lasted. And I got to 20 seconds inside the tub, and I know it took me at least that long to get there.
Rolando Santos talking with us from Chile. The U.S. island state of Hawaii, as we mentioned, got lucky. The waves from a tsunami appear to have caused no injuries or serious damage. Residents there had about a 6-hour warning before the tsunami hit and were able to move to safe ground. Gauges show the surge was less than a meter high. Ivan Cabrera is in the International Weather Center for us with the latest on what's happening across the Pacific. Certainly the folks on vacation in Hawaii are relieved, and the residents as well.
Indeed, no question about it. And again, we'll just have this serve as a drill, if you will, across the Hawaiian Islands. Better to be safe than sorry. This could have materialized into a very significant event across Hawaii. But even if that had happened, with the advance warning, with the hours upon hours that we had with the advance warning, there should not have been lives lost. Property would have been destroyed, certainly, but neither happened, and we're thankful for that. Now, I must say, we are still in an active tsunami threat. There are still areas that have not received the initial wave. Here we are almost 24 hours after the epicenter, after that 8.8, and we're still talking about some active areas here. Hachinohe in Japan is going to be receiving the first wave at 5:09 GMT. That is just minutes away. And as you can see, the orientation here of Japan, we go from northeast to southwest. You expect the waves to take a bit longer as you get into this region here. Okinawa will be the last to see it. In fact, Natalie, this is the last area. This is the last forecast point that we have as far as the initial wave at 6:10 GMT. So Okinawa in Japan will be the last place to see the initial wave. That is not to say that that's the only thing we're going to have. Remember, a tsunami is a series of waves, and they can be separated by 5 minutes. They can be separated by as much as an hour. But I'm just giving you the forecast of that initial surge. And sometimes, in fact, that first wave isn't the strongest, as we saw with the Banda Aceh in Indonesia in 2004. The successive waves were the ones that caused the significant damage. Let's go back to our other source at 491. so we can get a little more perspective here and talk about generally how long it takes. And the reason we're able to forecast this, it's not rocket science here. We're talking about these waves traveling at about 800 kilometers per hour. That's about 500 miles an hour. So essentially 747. That's the speed you go when you're traveling across the planet here on a jetliner. So we talk about 3, 6 hours, 9 hours, 12 hours. We get into 15 hours here. We get into certainly Hawaii, and then we continue. In fact, 18 to 21. The furthest away you are from the epicenter, the higher, of course, the chance you have of heating warnings here. I see it as the first hour. If you are within, say, 500 miles or 800 kilometers of that epicenter, you are going to be in trouble because the likelihood of you getting advanced notice is very low. As you get further and further away, the advanced warning becomes, of course, more available, especially if we're talking about daylight hours. And the other thing that happens, Natalie, is not only do we get advanced warning, but as the waves continue to propagate, you see what's been happening. These aren't estimates. This is actually what happened. The height waves continue to decrease, and so the effects are lowered across the region. So by the time this gets to Okinawa, we should be talking about the amplitude not being as significant. But my goodness, we'll continue to watch and we'll keep you posted throughout the day.